When it comes to fans, this might be one of the very best options on the market because it's got a cable-free design. Now, what's better than a cable-free design on a fan that performs very well? Well, RGB. So for those of you that are returning that are regular to the channel, you will know that I did recently cover the Tough Fan EX12 Pro. If you are new to the channel and you want to check out this review of a very, very solid offering by Thermaltake in terms of fans with a lot of features, I will leave a link in the description down below so you can go and check that video out. Now what I have here today is the CT120 EX ARGB SYNC fans. Effectively speaking, they are very, very similar to these. You can't change out the fan blades on the new ARGB models, but you do have ARGB functionality. So I'm just going to put this one to the side and return back to the CT120. Now this is Thermaltake's latest offering in the ARGB series. It is a fan offering that does utilise their MagForce connection, which means that you can daisy chain 3 fans using one single cable, which you will see very shortly in the video. In typical Gadget Joe fashion, in this video we're going to take a look at the box itself, unbox it and see exactly what you get inside the box, and then I'm going to get everything powered up and I'll show you exactly how the fans operate and how they look with all the RGB setup. Now before we do any of that, this is a product that has just recently been launched, and most places that you can find them probably will be a pre-order if, well, depending on when you're watching this video. I will leave a link in the description down below where you can get your hands on one of these, but when they do go for sale they are for around the $49.99 price mark, which for a set of 3 fans might seem quite expensive. But when you consider the fact that Thermaltake have built up quite a solid reputation when it comes to their fans and ARGB setups, it is definitely something of very good value. Again, you can get much cheaper fans out there on the market, but this is definitely something that is very much worth considering. You do get them in 2 different models as well. You get the 120 and the 140. Now the 140 is a slightly more powerful fan, even though the fan speeds actually wind a little bit slower than the 120s, which again I'll touch upon as I'm unboxing everything and going over the specifications. Now moving to the box itself, it is pretty much Thermaltake's usual style of boxing. You've got a nice bold, bright image of the fans on the front with some information at the bottom, including the branding and the naming of the fans and a few key features. On the side, you have some more key features in multiple different languages. On the other side, you've got some more key information. This includes things like the voltage and the input and the sound, decibels, etc., which again we'll touch upon very shortly. On the back, a little bit more information, also showing you what you get inside the box, and that is the 3 120mm fans. So getting it open, it is quite simple. The box does feel nice and sturdy, and before we get to the fans themselves, we're going to take a look at this box here. Now this box here is what holds all the accessories, so just going to get that out. One thing I do like about Thermaltake is the fact that they don't really waste much in terms of packaging. They do tend to fit everything into their boxes really quite well and efficiently. So this box is just pretty much a plain black box. When we open this, you do have a plethora of cables and accessories. You do obviously have the usual user manual, which obviously we all use. And then you get 3 bags with some assorted screws in there. You get the standard fan mounting screws for short ones, and then you also get some longer ones, which are there for mounting to radiators if you need to. You then get 3 cables. Now, I know I did say that it's only 1 cable per 3 fans, and that's because the fans actually connect together. So you can connect 1 fan to 1 cable, which is connected via the MagForce 2. Now the MagForce 2 is the second revision of their MagForce technology. Now what's the main difference is that the contact pads here are slightly larger than the ones in the previous revision. So what you would do here is you connect this to your RGB, which is a 3-pin 5-volt ARGB connector. So you've got an input and an output here with a little cap on the top to protect the pins. That would connect to your motherboard or your RGB hub if you do have one to control the RGB modes. The other header then connects to your fan controller. You can obviously plug this into your motherboard itself because the fact that you've got all of it running from 1 cable means that you're only taking one fan slot. So there are plenty of options for installation. So once you've got one on there, you can obviously connect all 3 fans together. You do get 3 cables though, so that you can individually run them, because obviously not all circumstances mean that you're going to have all 3 fans connected together at all times. Some cases are very small and you just need one at the front, one at the back, one at the top, one at the side, anything like that. And then you have the flexibility to do so, that you can power just one fan at a time if you need to. But the fact that you can daisy chain 3 fans off one cable is a fantastic little addition. A lot of people will use these fans for the front of their case or the top of their case, or even replacing the fans on their AIO. Now, Thermaltake do an AIO with these fans, which I'm hoping to get my hands on very soon, so I can give you a good review of how that AIO performs. In fact, I do have the 240 Tough Liquid AIO over there, which is going to be reviewed very shortly on the channel, and that features the tough fans that we recently looked at earlier on in the video. Now that we've looked at the accessories, we can take a look at the fans themselves. And these are presented in nice little cardboard cutouts to protect the fans themselves, and then you get an additional little piece of card which actually doubles up as a bit of protection and also to protect any damage of the points here. Now these points that you see here, there are 6 contact points, and they are what marry up to either the external fan, the next fan, or the MagForce connector that you see on the cables here. So before I take a look at the fans, I'm going to show you that MagForce technology in action. So as you can see here, you have the cable that has the connector on the front. What you need to do then is line up the 6 pins on here. There is on the side of a fan an arrow pointing up and an arrow pointing up on this one. What you need to do is line up the arrows. Don't have them both facing upwards because they just won't connect. Obviously it's a magnet. As you can see, they will just repel each other as you do it like that. What you need to do is make sure that those arrows do line up with each other, and then it will just simply slot into place like this. Now, the advantage of this MagForce 2 connectivity, other than the fact that it's got larger contact pads, is that it's so much stronger. As you can see, I can carry this fan by the cable very easily with no concerns of any movement whatsoever. If you want to connect another fan, you can simply do so by once again lining up the contact pads here. What you need to do is take the side with the 6 contact pins and line it up with the contact plates on the other one, putting them next to each other, and they will just simply magnetically slot together. Again, you can do it with 3 if you do wish so. Add this to that. Everything sits nice and uniform thanks to its magnetic qualities. Now when they're all connected, they hold each other very nicely. As you can see, I've got one hand holding this fan and it is holding all 3 together very nicely. The same again on any other way, and they will just hold themselves nicely. This is perfect for mounting it to a case of an AIO as well, because you know that everything is lined up where it needs to be, making screwing the fans to the case or the radiator very, very simple. Now obviously the fact that everything is lined up thanks to those magnets and everything is nice and strong isn't the main reason that they have that technology. That is simply because everything is powered through these magnets. All you need to do to power all 3 fans is take the one cable with that magnetic MagForce connector, connect that up, plug this into a power source and obviously your ARGB LED source, and then you can power all 3 fans off that one cable. Now obviously there is enough power to power all 3 fans, and they do spin up quite fast as well. These range from 500 RPM to 2000 RPM, so there's certainly no slouch when it comes to performance. In fact, when spinning at 2000 RPM, they are rated to push 68 CFM or 68 cubic feet per minute, so that's a significant amount of airflow from these fans considering the price point. When spinning at full volume, they only resonate at 28.5 decibels as well, so they are quite quiet for a high speed fan. Now when it comes to the 140, for some reason they only spin up to 1800 or 1800 RPM. But even with that lower fan speed, they push a significant amount more air than the 120 versions. In fact, the 140s are capable of pushing up to 90.3 CFM, so a really strong performing fan. In a moment I'm going to connect this up to a power supply, run it through an RGB hub. rather than setting it up in a system, I thought I'd just set it up on the table. As you can see here, I'll dim down the lights so that you can get a good idea of what the lights look like from the fans, and then we'll cycle through some of the lighting modes so that you can see what they look like, because they are marketed as an RGB fan, and generally speaking, Thermaltake are very, very good when it comes to that RGB. Now, a lot of the fans that I've covered on the channel are obviously from different brands. I've covered a lot of Thermaltake products, and they've always delivered when it comes to RGB lighting. So before we do that, let's talk about the fan itself. It is a very lightweight little fan, considering the fact that it does have that magnetic connector on either side. It doesn't really feel very heavy. It is a nice design. It does have, all four corners have little rubber footings on them, and obviously on the back you've got a little rubber plate, and that helps with vibration from your case. Now, the design is very simple. It's nice and understated. It actually looks quite basic, dare I say it, but again, it looks very nice. You do have a 9-blade fan on there, and the fan is made of a frosted material that will allow all the lights to distribute very evenly. The lighting is built within inside the fan hub itself rather than on the outside that some fans have, meaning that the actual casing is nice and unobstructed. The cable on the back is nicely routed along these arms here that are there to house the motor inside. Right, so what I'm going to do now is get the power supply set up, get everything ready to go, and then I'll see you very shortly with everything powered up. So we've now got it powered up in a rather rudimentary fashion. Got it connected up to a fan hub on my power supply, and I also have a little ARGB controller. Now, the ARGB controller works through the 3-pin 5-volt ARGB connector, and all I have to do then is just flick through the different modes, as you can see, to change the RGB lighting effects. And as you can see, they look very, very nice. And in a moment, I'm going to turn these lights off so you can really get a good idea of just how well they look lit up. In here, with all these lights on in the studio, I've got lights there, over there, and here. So there's lots of lights in here, and you can still see the light very, very well. Now, the advantage of a setup like this is obviously, as I've mentioned before, the daisy chain ability. I have one cable connected there, powering the fan and obviously for the ARGB, and then this one has no cables whatsoever. All I have to do is line the bottom up with this one here, let the contact pads go in, and as you can see, they work just like that. Now, the RGB functions will then sync up nicely with each other, and then to add another one, all you have to do is once again line it up, and as you can see, they are all running perfectly. Now, currently I can't really control the speeds. They are approximately running almost full speed right now, and they are quite loud, but that's again because it's in an open area and it is blowing through the air straight back at me, and there is a significant amount of airflow coming from the back of these as well. Don't really know how I'm going to show you properly. I am working on setting up a fan airflow testing facility, which I'm currently in the process of building, and that should be coming quite soon, so that you can really get a good visualization of how fans work. Another reason to subscribe if you haven't already, because we are constantly improving what we have to give you the best possible testing and outcomes so that you can visually see the performance of fans like these. Now, what I'll do roughly quickly to get a good idea is if I turn it slightly, because obviously it's pulling the air in through this way and pushing it back out here. So if I just get this bit of paper, you can see it's obviously sucking this paper into it, and then on the back, it's just pushing it clean out. So it's nice and flat. Now, the advantage of these fans being controlled by PWM, which is pulse width modulation, is the fact that it can control the fan speeds to work exactly how it needs to be worked. If you're gaming on your system and you're using some heavy loads, these will naturally just kick in to a higher speed to basically cool whatever you have them connected to, whether it be your case or your radiator, to really give you the best performance. Now, generally speaking, you can set these to go much lower, so that little hum that you can hear from them already, in fact, if I get my microphone, but as you can hear the sound. It is a quiet hum from the fans. With a lower speed, you're not going to hear that at all. What's more is, as quickly as you've connected them together, you can simply pull them away. So it really is an absolute genius idea to use magnets in products like this. Applications like this are what magnets are designed for, because they can carry a current through them, and obviously this is a perfect example of that. Making maintenance in your case super simple. All you have to do is disconnect the fans, and you can take them out so that you can clean them properly if you need to. Alternatively, you can switch them out if you get a problem with one of the fans. All you have to do is obviously have them all connected, and say for example if this middle one just decided to stop working, you can contact Thermaltake, let them know, and they'll say, right, okay, send out a faulty fan or keep a faulty fan aside and we'll send you a new one. You just take it out, replace it, and you're back to working again. And obviously you don't have to power them all through one cable. If you did want to connect them up and then power them individually, you can do so. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the lights down so that we can get a good idea of the lighting modes, and then rather than me talking through it, I'm just going to cycle through it. There is 9 addressable RGB LEDs in each fan, all housed within this middle hub here, and they do give a very fantastic light show. Now obviously you can connect these to your motherboard. The RGB can be controlled via an RGB hub like I've got connected here, or alternatively you can connect it to the motherboard itself. Now the motherboard support for these fans is actually very plentiful. Now in the past Thermaltake have had some issues with compatibility with some of the major brand motherboard companies. Now this one very fortunately is compatible with all the major motherboard manufacturers such as Asus, MSI, ASRock and many more. Also you can sync these up with some standard RGB software as well, such as Signal RGB and anything like that, so you can really customize the LEDs to exactly how you want them to look. So again, I'm going to shut up for a moment, I'm going to turn down the lights, and we're going to cycle through some of the modes that are available on this controller so that you can really see just how well these light up. So as you can see, a very nice lighting effect from these fans, pretty much as to be expected from Thermaltake by now, with the amount of quality that they put into the RGB side of everything. Now the fans are absolutely fantastic. They blow a significant amount of air. Considering you get all of this for $49.99, yes, I know that's quite expensive for a set of fans. You can get much cheaper fans out there, but I think with the fact that you get this quality from the Thermaltake fans, you really are getting a lot of value for your money. So it is definitely something that I would probably recommend to most people looking to get some upgraded fans for their setup. Now obviously you can use these fans for radiators as well, for AIOs. I wouldn't probably recommend them for custom loops because they're not high pressure static fan. They're not designed to pull really high amounts of air through the fans. but again, they should be more than enough for most setups. Obviously, as a case fan, they pretty much are up there with some of the best fans on the market. Now, the fans operate super smoothly as well. So if I disconnect these now, you can see by the fact that this takes such a long time to slow down to a stop, shows how fluid these bearings are on the fans. Again, another little nod to the quality of this product. Now, the only criticism that I have with a product like this is maybe that they could have been a little bit prettier. I don't mean that by the RGB modes itself. The actual fan itself is very nice looking, and obviously aesthetically it's very pleasing with all those lighting modes. What I mean is the actual fan housing. It's quite a plain looking fan. Even if they just infilled this little bit here, it could probably just improve the way that it looks a little bit more. But again, that's a minor little niggle that's more something that I'm sort of being finicky with after seeing many fans in my experience. But again, it is a very nice solid offering. It's very well built, which is pretty much Thermaltake usual standards. There's no flexibility whatsoever in these fans. They are very, very solid, considering the fact that they're very light as well. Even with those magnetic connectors in, means that they have really been manufactured very, very well. I don't know the full limitations of these fans as well. I know that they claim you can daisy chain 3 fans with 1 cable, but I don't know if you could potentially power some more if you need to. I wouldn't recommend doing that because there's no need to. The chances are, if you're going to buy some more of these, you've already got extra cables anyway. In fact, you even have 2 sets of cables left over from this one with this daisy chained as well. Having 3 for 1 connector is more than enough because most setups won't utilize more than 3 in a bank in any one time anyway, unless you're going for some really high-end large cases. Obviously, then you're going to be looking at slightly more extensive forms of cooling. But for the everyday user, this is a very solid offering, and it's definitely something that I could recommend from myself here at Gadget Joe. I don't know if they come in other colours yet, or if they're going to be coming in other colours. It would be nice to see a white variant of this as well, so that you can obviously keep that white fan and then have a white housing. That would look absolutely stunning, and definitely something that I would look for in my personal setup. I've got an all white setup, and that's probably the only reason that I'm not going to be putting these in my setup, is because obviously they've got a black housing, and obviously they do a lot of other colours as well. They are currently going to Computex, and they are unveiling some new products, and I don't know if maybe stuff like this is going to be in there. Obviously, if you're watching this after Computex, you'll already know what's been announced. Hopefully they are going to introduce more colours for their fan ranges. Definitely something I would like to see. And that's pretty much it. That's been my unboxing, overview and review of the Thermaltakes CT120 EX ARGB SYNC fans. A bit of a mouthful to name, but a very solid offering nonetheless. A very, very capable fan with some really quite high performances, considering it's not a high pressure static fan. Incorporating the usual Thermaltake standards in terms of build quality, and obviously the RGB LEDs in there as well. Before I do go, one key thing that I really do commend Thermaltake on is that they're shying away from their own controllers. Now, their own controllers would really offer a lot in terms of customization for the fans, but they were problematic from the get-go. They often had a lot of issues with the connectors connecting with the software of your setup on your motherboard. Sometimes it just didn't work altogether. There was lots of different revisions of the hub. I know they do still do hubs now, but they are a much more improved product. But the fact that they're shying away from it, and a lot of other companies are shying away from having their own software controlled RGB, is definitely something that's very welcome. The fact that you can control this via your case RGB controller or an external RGB controller hub, or alternatively the motherboards themselves, so that you can run your own software that you know works. Now, the advantage of stuff like that is that you can sync these up better with other RGB products in your system. So obviously you can have some case lighting, or alternatively some other fans, or your cooler, or your motherboard itself, and they can all sync up perfectly with each other. As always, I will leave a link in the description, as I mentioned earlier, where you can get your hands on a set of these currently over at Scan, I believe, for £49.99. Currently, at the time of recording this video and probably uploading the video, They are pre-order only. If you're watching this when they're out, go and get yourself some if you're looking for a upgrade in terms of cooling and aesthetics in terms of RGB for your setup. And that's pretty much it. So if you like the video, don't forget to click like. And whilst you're there, don't forget to click subscribe, because you won't want to miss out some of the content that's coming. In fact, we've got some giveaways coming very shortly as well. And we do have some more Thermaltake products like this, along with some other products. And then that's pretty much it. So I've been Gadget Joe. This has been the Thermaltakes CT120 EX ARGB SYNC fans. And until next time, goodbye.